Uh, this is Dr. C.C. Prasad. Now we are discussing about urbanization trends, both at global, national, and state level, and also the 74th Constitutional Amendment features. Urbanization and economic development are complementary to each other. So, wherever economic development took place, automatically it leads to urbanization. Yesterday, we discussed about urbanization means growing number of cities and towns. So, the pace of industrialization across the globe is accompanied by urbanization. So, that's why urbanization is a global phenomenon. 20th century made the countries of the world that urbanization is inevitable because it is an inevitable process. Every government has to face the challenges of urbanization. So if you see the urbanization global trends, the global population is projected to be 9.7 billion by 2050. So the global urban population was only 7% in 18th century and 16% in 19th century. But during the second half of the 20th century, urbanization increased significantly at the world level. The world today is urbanized. That means more than half of the world population now live in urban areas. So urban growth is expected to take place across all countries of the world. That's why we will call it as a global phenomenon. And the growth is expected to continue in the next few decades. So that's why almost all the countries in the world is experiencing the urbanization and its consequences, both positive as well as the negative consequences. Yesterday, we have discussed about the different advantages and disadvantages of urbanization. That means urbanization generally what we have discussed, it is a complete transformation. It is a transformation from rural culture to the urban culture. So that's why here there is no specific definition for urbanization also. Even United Nations also does not have a definition. It varies from country to country. It also changes from time to time. So that's why in simple urbanization refers to the population shift from rural settlement to the urban settlement. That's why we will call it as an urbanization is a process. So that's why this process is continuing throughout the world. Almost all, both the developed and developing countries are experiencing the urbanization and its consequences. That means when urbanization will take place, naturally it has some advantages and disadvantages. Particularly the advantages, that means there is a non-agricultural sector will be flourished in towns and cities. That is business, trade and commerce. And there are the health and educational and science and technology facilities are available in urban areas. And it is a symbol for civilization. That means the impact of science and technology on the lives of the people leads to better standard of living. That's why the people migrate from rural areas to the urban areas for better living. And when it comes to the negative side of the urbanization, there is enormous pressure on physical space and services. That means overcrowding of urban areas, whether it is a town or city, whatever it may be. So there is a overcrowding that leads to serious housing shortage and poverty and slums, growth of slums, and ill health and diseases and traffic congestion and increase of urban crime. These are all the disadvantages if urbanization crosses its limits. So that's why when it is an inevitable thing, and not only inevitable, it is irreversible also. That means you can't take back. So that's why almost all the countries in the world are now experiencing the both pros and cons of urbanization. So that's why in a global field, if you see by 2050, the urbanization is very high in the world, because by 20th century made the countries of the world that urbanization is an inevitable thing. So by the global population is projected by 2050 is a 9.7 billion. During the second half of the 20th century, urbanization increased significantly. So urban growth is expected to take place across all the countries of the world, and growth is expected to continue in future also. So that's why, in simple, what we can say that urbanization is an inevitable process at the global level. Most of the both developed and developing countries are experiencing both the pros and cons of the urbanization, and the government should take measures to proper growth of the urban areas, and to resolve the problems of urbanization. The government should pay a special attention and evolve specific programs and policies to resolve the problems evolved by the urbanization. When it comes to the urbanization in India, India's urban population increased from 10.8% in 1901 to 31.16% by 2011. As per 2011 census, the urban population in India was 31.16%. If you see, 1/10 of world's urban population lives in India. Particularly in states, 18 states in India have higher levels of urbanization, more than the national average. So while the country's population is growing by 2.5 times, the country's general population is growing 2.5 times. But when the urban population is growing by 5 times, so almost double. So that's why even the United Nations projected that India's urban population is to be 590 million by 2030. From 2030, as per United Nations projection, India's urban population will be 590 million. And by 2050, it will be 875 million. And urbanization, see, we have number of urban governance institutions in India, that is municipal corporations, municipalities, and cantonment boards, and town committees, nagar panchayats. These are all urban government institutions which governs the urban areas. So when it comes to the Telangana, our state level, so far we have discussed about the global level and the national level. Now we are going to see the urbanization trend in our state, that is Telangana. In Telangana is the 30th populous in the country and 5th urbanized among the largest states in India. So 5th urbanized larger states in India, Telangana, having 40% of urban population. In Telangana, we are having 40% of urban population. Actually, in national level, it is 31.16 as per 2011 census. But in Telangana, we have more urban population. That means 40% of urban population in Telangana. That is the 5th urbanized state among the 5 states in India. In Telangana, this is the Hyderabad state capital, which is with an estimated population of 10 million and is ranked 5th in the country. Hyderabad city population ranks the 5th in the country because it is a totally urbanized population you can see in Hyderabad. In Telangana, out of 33 districts in the state, Hyderabad is only an urban district, which is followed by Medchal Malkajgiri district with over 91% of urban population. In Telangana, we have 142 urban local bodies. Out of this 142, 13 are municipal corporations. We have 13 municipal corporations. The remaining 129 are municipalities in Telangana. So like this, you see, in simple, what we can say is both either whether it is a global level or national level or on a state level, the urbanization is a growing tendency and it is irreversible. That's why we have to take steps to minimize the disadvantages of the urbanization and strengthen the process of urbanization and to get optimum advantages of it. Because urbanization is a result of industrial growth. Where industrialization takes place, it creates a number of benefits, that is providing employment opportunity, transport facilities, and various other interrelated sectors will be developed. So that's why this urbanization, when it is inevitable, we have to make sustainable plans for growth of urbanization, and we have to take constructive measures to control the negative effects of the urbanization and take steps to strengthen the positives of urbanization in both at national level as well as at the state level. So this is generally what we will see the urbanization trends. In simple, we can conclude this as the urbanization is an inevitable process and irreversible process at global, national, and state level. So the future projections are very high by 2030 and 2050. So the projections are very high at the national, at global, national, and state levels. So that's why in Telangana, we indicate that the state's urban population will be 21.84 million by 2030, as per projections in Telangana state. By 2030, the urban population will be 21.84, and it reaches 37 million. That means Telangana indicates that the state's urban population will be 21.84 million by 2030, and it reaches 37 million by 2050. So the projections are very high. So urbanization is the most powerful and irreversible force in the, not only in the world, but also in every country and state. So today, urban India with over 400 million population we are having in India. So that's why the urban population is day by day it is increasing, and the urban growth, urban population increase is result of two factors, as I said yesterday. That is, one is there is a natural growth in the population in towns and cities in urban areas, and the second is the migration of people from rural settlements, rural areas to the urban areas in search of number of opportunities for better living, better standard of living, better to enjoy the better amenities and benefits which are available in urban areas. So that's why in urbanization, when it is inevitable and irreversible, so the governments are making a number of programs and policies and implementing to control the urban growth, and to particularly expanding the urban areas like urban agglomerations and outskirts, suburbanization. Understand? So these are all, it's a very important policies, policy decisions the government has to take to improve the conditions at the urban areas, whether it is a municipal corporation or a municipality or a Nagar Panchayat or cantonment board or whatever area, urban area it may be. So it has to take number of measures, and moreover, there is a gap between the demand and supply in urban areas. The population is, when population is increasing, the infrastructural facilities which are available in urban areas are not sufficient. Not only infrastructure, even the amenities like water, housing, and sanitation, and all these things are, there is a dearth of amenities which are available. So that's why even now the governments are privatizing the urban amenities and urban services to improve the conditions in urban areas. So this is what we can observe simply about the urbanization trends at different levels, that is global, national, and state level. Now, we will discuss about the 74th Constitutional Amendment and its important features. See, in 1992, there were two landmark constitutional amendments. One was the 73rd Constitutional Amendment, and another one is 74th Constitutional Amendment. 73 Constitutional Amendments is related to rural local bodies, whereas 74th Constitutional Amendment is related to urban local bodies. This first we have to make specific about what is that 73rd Constitutional Amendment and what is the 74th Constitutional Amendment. 73rd Constitutional Amendment is related to the rural local bodies, to strengthen the rural local bodies, whereas the 74th Constitutional Amendment is related to strengthen the urban local bodies such as municipal corporations, municipalities, nagar panchayat, like these things. But these constitutional amendments, we will call it as a landmark amendment because which brought a revolutionary changes in the local bodies administration, both at the rural and urban areas, because the decentralized administration, that means administration should be decentralized and near to the people, and people's involvement is very much needed at the local level to improve the conditions. So if you see the after independence, we in rural areas, for the development of rural areas, we introduced the community development programs. But the community development programs were failed. So why they failed? What were the reasons for that? For that purpose, we appointed a committee called Balwantrai Mehta Committee. The Balwantrai Mehta Committee studied the community development programs and come to conclusion that the community development programs are failed due to lack of people's participation. Because it is only the government program thrust on people. There is no people's involvement or people's participation in community development programs. That's why the community development programs were failed, which were introduced after immediately after independence. That's why the Balwantrai Mehta Committee suggested a three-tier structure of Panchayat Raj system in rural areas. That is Jilla Parishad and Panchayat Samiti at the Panchayat Samiti level, and village Panchayat at village level. So a three-tier structure of Panchayat Raj system was recommended by the Panchayat Raj, the Balwantrai Mehta Committee. And the first state which was introduced to this Panchayat Raj system was the Rajasthan. So like this, in the local governments, there is a historical reasons for the introduction of these local level bodies, because which should be near to the people can observe the governance at the local level. So the people's participation also possible when compared to the higher level governments like state and central. So when it comes to the constitutional amendment of the 74th Constitutional Amendment, that Act 1992. There is this constitutional amendment, 74th Constitutional Amendment, important features which brought in the urban governance is the reservations, the women reservation, 33% of women reservation in local bodies. This is one. Second, establishment of an election commission to conduct regular elections to the local bodies, whether it is a rural or urban local bodies, to conduct regular elections. Appointment of a state election commission to conduct the elections for these rural local bodies. Then another important thing is the establishment of state finance commission to distribute funds between state and local bodies. Like in central, there was a finance commission, constitutional body finance commission, which recommends the distribution of resources from central government to the various state governments. It will be constituted every 5 years as per the constitutional norms. Similar type of commission, finance commission at the state level, is recommended by these 73rd, 74th constitutional amendments. So that's why the major changes brought by the constitutional 74th constitutional amendment, particularly in urban governance, is the reservations. 33% of posts should be reserved for women. Second, establishment of election commission for regular conduct of elections to the urban local bodies and rural local bodies. Then the finance commission to distribute finances from state to local governments. And particularly in urban governance is concerned, they recommended for ward committees and district planning committees and metropolitan planning committees. So to decentralize the administration at the urban level, urban areas. So ward committees and district planning committees and metropolitan planning committees, which are recommended by the 74th Constitutional Amendment. So this 74th Constitutional Amendment, after passing of the Constitutional Amendment Act, the states had 1 year time to bring amendments to the municipal acts. So there are municipal acts at the state level. So they have to amend those acts according to the 74th Constitutional Amendment. For that, they are given 1 year time for all the states to amend its municipal acts in conformity with the provisions of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. The 74th Constitutional Amendment has provisions relating to the constitution of municipalities, composition of municipal councils, and elections to the councils and their tenure, functions, finances, district and metropolitan planning committees, etc. So that means constitution of municipalities as per 74th constitutional amendment. Three types of municipalities we can see as per 74th constitutional amendment. That is municipal corporations for large urban areas, municipalities for smaller urban areas, and Nagar Panchayat for traditional areas from rural to transformation of areas, transitional areas from rural to urban. That means as per 74th Constitutional Amendment, we have three types of urban areas, three types of municipalities. One, municipal corporation for larger urban areas, and municipalities for smaller urban areas, and Nagar Panchayats for which are the areas which are transitional from rural to urban. So, the details of what constitutes larger urban area, smaller urban area, and transitional areas, which are left to the discretion of the state legislature. So the state should specify these are the areas, larger urban areas, based on the population or various income levels. The state should decide which is the larger urban area, which is the smaller urban area, and which are the areas which are transition from rural to urban areas. Those should be decided by the state government. As a result, one finds variations in the demographic character of different types of urban local bodies between the states. So there is no uniformity throughout the country about the urban urban local bodies, which vary from state to state, because we have given discretion to the states. The central government has given discretion to the states to decide larger urban area, smaller urban area, and transitional areas. So that's why each state decided based on its demographic conditions. That's why it is there is no uniformity of urban local bodies throughout the country. When it comes to composition of municipalities, all seats in the municipal council should be filled only through the direct elections. All the seats in the municipal council should be filled only through direct elections. The 74th Constitutional Amendment provides for filling through nomination or co-option of representatives having special knowledge and experience in municipal administration. But the nominated members can participate in the council meetings, but shall not have the right to vote. The 74th Constitutional Amendment gives discretion to the state legislature to provide for representation in municipal councils to the members of House of People and Legislative Assembly representing the Constitution, which comprise wholly or partly the municipal area. So it has given discretion to the state government that whether the MPs and MLAs related to that particular area will be nominated members for the body or not. Moreover, the matter of election of municipal chairman is also left to the discretion of the state legislature to describe. So though the 74th Amendment was enacted by the Parliament, but most of the provisions, they are given to the state government discretion to decide norms related to composition of municipalities, or deciding the area, the larger and smaller and transitionally urban areas. So these are all given to the discretion of the state government. And another important features in 74th Constitutional Amendment has made mandatory and discretionary provisions. The 74th Constitutional Amendment has made mandatory and discretionary provisions in relation to the reservation to provide adequate representation to women, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes in the municipal councils. The mandatory provisions include reservation of not less 1/3 of the seats in the municipal council to women. So 1/3 of the municipal seats should be allotted to the women reservation. To the SCs and STs, the seats are reserved in proportion to their population in the municipal area. Not less than 1/3 of the total seats in the municipal council are reserved to women belonging to SCs and STs. So, in the important features of 74th Constitutional Amendment was that reservation, that means 33% of reservation should be given to women. So women empowerment, women representation should be increased in urban areas, in local government level. That's why this 33% of reservations are given to the women. And the another important feature is that the 74th Constitutional Amendment provides the Constitution of State Election Commission. Its function include the superintendence, the direction and control of preparation of the electoral rolls for and the conduct of all elections to the panchayats and municipalities in the state. So at the central level, there is a election commission which look after the national elections and state elections. Similarly, the 74th Constitutional Amendment recommended the establishment of an election commission to look after the elections of panchayats and municipalities, urban local bodies and rural local bodies. Then to provide for continuity to municipal councils to ensure effective governance, the 74th Constitutional Amendment provides for a fixed tenure of 5 years, which is reckoned from the appointed date of the first meeting of the newly elected municipal council. So the tenure of the municipal bodies, municipal council is 5 years. The State Election Commission should ensure that the elections are held to the municipal councils before the expiry of the duration of the municipal council. In case of the municipal council is dissolved or superseded before the expiry of the 5 years tenure, elections should be completed within 6 months from the date of its dissolution. So like this, there is a election commission will fix the within the time of tenure, they have to conduct elections for these bodies. If it is dissolved before the expiry of the term. So within 6 months, they have to conduct elections. So these are all, and even in powers and functions also, they are very specific, because there is a 12th schedule that specifies the important functions should be given to the urban local bodies. 12th schedule. In the 11th schedule, which was in the 73rd Constitutional Amendment, the 11th schedule, which specifies the powers and functions given to the powers and functions of the rural local bodies, whereas the 12th schedule of the state may consider to entrust these functions to the municipalities. So what are they? They are given almost 18 functions in the 12th schedule. One, urban planning, including town planning, and regulation of land use and construction of buildings, planning for economic and social development, and roads and bridges, water supply of domestic, industrial, and commercial purposes, public health, sanitation, conservancy, and solid waste management, fire services, urban forestry, protection of the environment and promotion of ecological aspects, safeguarding the interest of weaker sections of society, including the handicapped and mentally retarded, and slum improvement and upgradation, and urban poverty elevation, provision of urban amenities and facilities such as parks, gardens, and playgrounds, promotion of cultural, educational, and aesthetic aspects, and burial grounds, cremation grounds, and electrical cremations, cattle ponds, prevention of cruelty to animals, vital statistics including registration of births and deaths, and public amenities including street lighting, parking lots, bus stops, and public conveniences, and regulation of slaughterhouses and tanners. So these there are 17 function 18 functions specified in the 12th schedule of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. These functions should be performed by the urban local bodies. So, but the next important thing in urban local bodies maintenance is the finances. In the finances, the 74th Constitutional Amendment, state legislature to specify by law matters relating to the levy of taxes. So the tax power, the power of taxation is decided by the state legislature. So then taxes, duties, fees, etc., which would be levied and collected by the municipalities as per the procedure to be laid down in the state law. So they have to collect. So the taxes, duties, and fees, and which would be levied and collected by the municipalities. Second, tax, duties, fees, etc., which would be levied and collected by the state government, and a share passed to the municipality. So some taxes, duties, and fees are collected by the state government, and a share is passed to the municipalities. That means urban local bodies. So the finance distribution, if you see, first thing is the urban local bodies themselves have the power to levy taxes, duties, and fees and collect it. That is one. Second, the taxes, duties, and fees which are levied and collected by the state government, and a portion of it a share of it is passed on to the municipalities. And third, there is a grant in aid that would be given to the municipalities from the state. State will give certain grants to the municipality. And the lastly, the constitution of funds for creating and withdrawal of monies by the municipalities. So the 74th Constitutional Amendment provides for the constitution of State Finance Commission, like State Election Commission. So it also recommended for State Finance Commission under 243 article of the Act, 243(1), to review the financial positions of the Panchayat Raj institution and also municipalities in the state and make recommendations to the governor. So the Election Commission and Finance Commission, which are related to both urban and rural local bodies, to strengthen the finances and to regular conduct of the elections for these bodies. These two institutions are established as a result of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment. This Finance Commission will recommend to the governor. So the State Finance Commission will recommend the following, that is, distribution between the state government and municipalities of the net proceeds of the taxes, duties, tolls, and fees levied by the state. So the taxes, duties, and the tolls and fees which are levied by the state, the total amount will be distribution between the state government and municipalities. That is one, the State Finance Commission will recommend in which proportion they have to share these amounts, proceeds. Then allocation of share of such proceeds between the municipalities at all levels in the state. One, there is a distribution between the urban local bodies and the state government. And second, among the urban local bodies, how the money should be distributed, the taxes and duties and tolls and fees collected money, how it should be distributed among the municipal local bodies. That also recommended by the State Finance Commission. And the determination of taxes, duties, tolls, and fees to be assigned or appropriated by the municipalities. And grants in aid to municipalities from the consolidated fund of the state. From the consolidated fund of the state, how the grants should be given to, grants in aid to be made to the municipalities. And measures needed to improve the financial positions of the municipalities. So to strengthen the financial base of the municipalities also, the State Finance Commission will make recommendations. Another important feature of 74th Constitutional Amendment is, as per Article 243(s)(1) of the Indian Constitution, provides for the constitution of ward committees consisting of one or more wards in urban local bodies with population of 3 lakhs or more. If there is a population of 3 lakhs or more, there should be a ward committee which consists of one or more ward committees in urban local bodies. So if urban local bodies with a population of 3 lakhs or more, they have to form a ward committees. So the they raised the question whether a ward committee can be constituted in urban local bodies having a population of less than 3 lakhs also, and what should be the membership of such a constitution of ward committees for urban local bodies with a population of 3 lakhs or more is a constitutional requirement. So if they for less than 3 lakhs also they can form ward committees, but it is not the constitutional obligation. It is only for decentralized purpose. But if it crosses 3 lakhs, as compulsorily they have to form the ward committees. So the